In the darkness, beyond the light, there shall only be one. Welcome to
Psychos and sickos unite for a very special Mailbag Monday edition of PHNX Suns. Man, we have a packed show for you today. Of course, I'm Erik. That's Steven to my right. The man is back from paternity leave. His name is Gerald. Some of you know him as Girth. He's back. And we have a special guest for Mailbag Monday. It's Shane Young, who covers the Suns for Forbes. And of course, behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen, it's Ayrton, a.k.a., I don't know if you guys know this, the Freckled Mamba. The best nickname in all of PHNX. Whole squad here, but of course, the most important people, all of you joining us live in the chat on YouTube after the fact, and of course on audio. If you're here with us live, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, as we're bringing you around the clock coverage of the Kevin Durant trade saga. If you're on audio, 5-star reviews go a long way. And that's not all. We're adding a fifth member today. Marc Stein will join the show at 3:30, so make sure you tune in for that. We're answering almost all of your questions today, but before we get into those, there's a big question on everybody's mind, and that is, Gerald, how the hell are you?
I am doing fantastic. I am exhausted. I've never been more tired in my life. I've never realized how little sleep you need to function as an adult in this life, but doing great. It's a surreal feeling, and it's good to be back. It feels like way too soon, and it feels like I've been gone for forever at the same time, but I'm joining you for the stretch run of a possible Kevin Durant trade, the draft, free agency, summer league. So we're going to get into all of it, but I am very excited to be back for sure.
Apparently my mic is low. Luckily, if I just talk loud enough, you could probably hear me from your living room, because that is just how loud I am.
Stop talking. Y'all could have just said thank you to Erik about that too, but you got to go about it the right way. Shane, how have you been? We haven't seen you up here in a while. You had a lot going on. How you been doing?
Going on, man, but I'm proud to be back. Glad, thankful that we could create this alignment within our community.
There you go.
There we go.
I didn't get it started this time. It was him.
That's one. I've been sitting on that for a couple days. So, but yeah, welcome back, Gerald. I just want to say, I saw you about a week ago at the press conference. You did not look like you were a zombie. So,
a lot of work went into making sure that was the case. It's weird because this is the most put together I've looked in a month outside of that press conference, because you just got baby spit and all kinds of stuff that you got to deal with. It's rough, but it's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding.
Sounds like the Suns' end of the season. So.
Oh, that's brutal.
I don't want to talk about baby spit. I don't know if I might.
Stop talking.
Well, that's brutal. We can, for those of you who were curious and don't follow us on all our social channels, this is a look at baby Archer, by the way. I have one here for you guys. JCPenney still does fire photo shoots, just in case anyone was wondering. And if you want a close-up of little baby Archer's face, he's already very memeable. He's more photogenic than his old man, and he's a month into life. So there you go. There's little Goku, if you will. Sorry, Erik. I know you're excited, but you can't say anything about it right now.
Is that what pure life before expectations get placed upon sports teams?
Yep, that's before he becomes a Suns fan. That's that face.
Is Archer going to be asking the tough questions in about 18 years?
I sure hope so. He's not going to learn it from me. He's going to have to learn it from his mom, if that's the case. But
okay,
it's fine. And thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys have been fantastic. I really appreciate all the congratulations and all the messages and everything. It's really made me feel very loved, and all of us loved over in the Bourguet Goku household.
Check 1, 2. Hey, hi everybody.
Hey, there we go.
To more important things, I'm not matching everybody's t-shirt today. Everybody is wearing their favorite PHNX t-shirt for our Spirit Week. This is a PHNX t-shirt, by the way. This is the Anti-Hero Basketball Club, but we've got a couple Devin Booker, He's on Fire t-shirts, a Valley Sicko t-shirt. Me, I just, I like to stand out from the crowd, not wearing the purple. But as part of All City Spirit Week, we're teaming up with Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, an incredible group creating life-changing mentorships for kids across the country. And we've set a goal across all of ALLCITY. That's PHNX, DNVR, PHLY, DLLS. That is $10,000 raised for Big Brother, Big Sister of America. Now, you can donate not through Super Chats, but there is a donate button right below your chat. Also in the description of this, if you're listening on audio, please help us make a difference in our community. And if you want to make an even bigger impact, you can also sign up to become a Big Today by visiting bbbs.org/AllCity. Let's do something meaningful together this week as well, everybody. Make sure you donate to Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. Plus, we have a lot more fun stuff. Today is Wear Your Favorite PHNX T-Shirt Day. Tomorrow is Mystery Guest Day. We have musical chairs within PHNX. And on Friday, we have a Die Hard run show. So that's going to be extremely fun. The diehards are going to pick what we talk about. But today, we're also letting the people decide what we talk about. And that is a Mailbag Monday. Before we get into your specific questions, a lot has happened over the last month, Gerald. Your overall takeaways. I know there's been quite a bit. Kevin Durant trade rumors. They hired a head coach. They did a whole head coaching search over the last month. What's been your biggest takeaway from your time away?
I was actually pretty impressed with Jordan Ott. I know that he was not the most outwardly charismatic kind of guy in his press conference, but I thought he gave substantial answers. And I think that was something that Brian Gregory alluded to, was when they talked to a lot of players and coaches around the league, and Steve Nash in particular. He said substance commands the room now, and I'm hoping that Ott has that. And he alluded to that in his own answer when he was asked about, how do you connect with players? And he said, well, a lot of players are on board at first, but then the question becomes, what can you do for me? How can you make me better? So he understands it can't just be rah, 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 buy into the system, principles, all this stuff. It has to lead to results to get guys to truly buy in and to truly develop those relationships. So I'm encouraged by that. Obviously, the Brian Gregory hire, and Gregory's experience didn't look great when you add another Michigan State guy, but make no mistake about it, Jordan Ott is qualified for this job. He was a guy that has been interviewed for other openings around the league. So I'm excited to see what the team looks like under him, even though we don't know who's going to actually be on the team just yet.
What did you think, Shane, of Jordan Ott and everything that went on around him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever buy into winning the presser or anything like that, but I thought he did as good a job as he possibly could. Really appreciated how he pushed back about his qualifications, just the Michigan State question. I'm sure I know you guys touched on that last week, but like Gerald said, I mean, he seems very dialed in, and I think I hate the position he's in because he doesn't know what team he's going to have for quite some time. So hopefully, a trade of that magnitude happens soon to where he can kind of get the ball rolling and start playing out the process. And quick little note about Jordan Ott, I was able to talk with Donovan Mitchell, his last star player that he coached last year in the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Donovan obviously had a pretty good year. The numbers were down, but that's just because he was getting off the ball more. And one thing Donovan told me,
fourth quarters either.
Yes, true. Missed a lot of fourth quarters because they were blowing teams out. One thing Donovan told me, he said that Jordan Ott is very detailed. He knows the game very well and is able to communicate. And a bunch of times throughout the year, Jordan was sending clips to the team and the players of other NBA games and EuroLeague games to try to get a sense of, we can implement this in our offensive system. So try to diversify their offense and find ways to win that are abnormal.
Did Donovan drop an alignment at all?
No, he didn't. That seems to be a Phoenix only thing.
Oh, I thought every successful NBA team did that. My bad. Okay. Good to hear from both of you. Glad to get that update. Really cool note from Donovan Mitchell. We have a lot of Mailbag Monday questions to get into. If you notice, usually I say we're going to get to all of your questions. That will be a little bit different today because there's a lot of us, and Marc Stein joins at 3:30. So all draft-related questions we're going to be tackling on Wednesday's show. We're going to do our ultimate draft preview for the Suns. We'll be tackling the rest of your Mailbag Monday questions, but that does not mean we're not getting into a lot of them today. Let's start off with a couple of of kind of basic ones. First one is from Kunzi Lee, says, looking forward to clear updates about the roster changes. Amen to that.
Same.
Kunzi, agree. Khalid Cannon 1 says, when is a trade going to be announced? And then Harrier says, invite at Shams Charania and have him announce the trade live. Now, we have 5 people on the show already. He just missed the cut. He wanted to be on today, but we do have Steven instead. Steven, when do you think
Me in place of Sean?
Yeah, you are the premier insider on this show.
Okay.
When do you think Kevin
News to
Durant
me.
gets traded? And whatever you say, we are going to aggregate and frame it in a really crappy way that makes you look bad.
And if you're wrong, we'll call you a clown.
Right?
So,
No, sorry, I'm the clown. You're not the clown.
Wednesday afternoon at 2:45.
Okay.
Wow, I'm
Right,
calling the time.
Pacific Standard Time.
Okay. Right
Gives
before our
us
show.
15 minutes to undo everything we plan to do draft-wise on Wednesday, make it centric about the trade, and we can kind of go for it more organized than the trade actually happening during the show or at like midnight or 1 a.m. like in years before.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like it was getting close over the weekend.
Yeah.
It sounded like things were heating up. Based on what I've heard, the Timberwolves have been pretty aggressive in going after KD. And you can kind of read between the lines on that as well in terms of looking at some of the other reports about, these teams' offers aren't really impressing the Suns, a.k.a. boost your offers. But I don't know. I feel like this kind of drags out through the week maybe. I think it gets done before the draft next week because I think for the Suns, there are a lot of advantages to doing that, namely knowing what picks you might be getting back in this year's draft to prep for your draft board a little bit better. But I think it'll be a few more days now. No idea, but just speculating.
Shane, as the comments say, the new white guy, what do you think? When do you think a Kevin Durant trade happens?
well, new to you, Robert, but I've been here. I've been here for a while.
Let him go, Shane.
This white guy has been here.
I got to say, I'm feeling like a Friday night.
Oh.
Friday night, 8 p.m.,
Don't do
11
that.
p.m. Eastern is what I'm feeling for
Don't
a trade.
do that.
But similar to Carl Towns last year, I believe. I believe it traded on a late Friday evening.
Yeah, but like in October. They were doing preseason ball. They shipped Carl Anthony Towns to the East Coast.
Oh, man.
Okay. That's a crazy comment. Hello's comment's about to come through. Crazy. Okay. Anyway, we're all waiting for a Kevin Durant trade. If you want some more in-depth breakdowns of all of the 5 million different reports that are going out there, Steven and I jumped on a mini podcast that's in your audio and video feeds on the barrage of reporting we got about the Suns not being excited about some of the offers coming their way from Kevin Durant's preferred teams, the Toronto Raptors, Kristaps Porzingis, Jalen Green. Steven and I covered all that in a trending mini pod, and I had 2 mini pods for you over the weekend, one on audio only, one on video only, covering the latest reports. So if you're not subscribed to both YouTube and audio, highly recommend you do that not to miss out on anything. So let's not miss out on any more of your questions. Let's keep this Mailbag Monday going. Gerald, we have a question from Martin.
Okay, Martin, thank you for your question. Do you think the Suns are waiting for the league year to turn to 25-26 to complete the KD trade? By the way, when does that happen? The Bain trade shows we are still in 24-25. What do you say? Which calendar year is better for them to trade KD? Thank you. Love the show. Thanks, Martin. Appreciate that. I think they're trying to get it done before the draft, like I alluded to there. I don't think there are that many advantages to waiting for the calendar year to turn. I think you want to get your roster reset, know what picks you're getting before the draft. So I don't think it's a deadline per se, but I think your best offers are going to come in the next week leading up to the draft. When these are still draft picks instead of we use this draft pick on this specific player already.
Steven, does the new year, is it officially starting once the finals ends?
That's a question I have for Gerald and Shane, honestly, because I'm not 100% sure about that. When
Do
does
we
the
know when
league
it
year
I think
officially
it's
is?
July 1st. I think it's when free
Okay.
agency starts, but let me look that up just to make sure.
Okay.
There is a pretty big difference in Kevin Durant's salary. I noticed this when we were putting together trades while you were gone, Gerald, is that if you go one more year in and you do 25-26, KD's making almost $5 million more dollars per season, which means you have to match that salary. Shane, do you feel like it's more beneficial for KD to have that higher salary compared to his lower one of this past season?
Yeah, I don't know if it matters too much, but I mean, I just think that I do think that it's after the draft, and I think it's what's the official day for free agency? Because I mean, I know they opened it a day earlier now. than used to.
Moratorium and whatnot.
Yeah. So, but honestly, with that higher salary, one thing that I will say, I will never forgive the NBA and the NBA PA for agreeing to this new CBA because it has made everything so convoluted and so confusing for even just the people that are dialed in. It's now just so confusing for everyone. So good luck to the average fan out there that's trying to keep track of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I said some words about CJ McCollum over the last month while you were gone, Gerald.
Said and tweeted.
Publicly challenged him to a fight.
Did you?
On the show, yes. I said I'd fight him on behalf of all Suns fans, and I tweeted that he was the real reason for the Phoenix Suns' downfall. Definitely not coping. Okay, let's keep it rolling here. Do we have an answer on the start of the new league here?
No, I'm getting differing responses,
That's
honestly.
awesome.
So that's
Okay.
a lot of fun.
Well, when we know, we'll let you know, but we do know it's not going to be happening during the finals because, of course, the finals are happening. Let's go to Joe's question, Steven.
In any return, the Suns get, what is it that they need and what is it that they want? And realistically, can you kind of expect for them to do something big, or it's a good question.
Or should you dream?
Curious. Or should you dream
Dream to
it?
hit big. What's a want and what's a need, Shane, in a Kevin Durant return?
To me, I think both of those should be the same thing. Now, I don't know what the Suns want internally, but this team needs more depth pieces. Like they need to build out the roster and get away from those higher those top end salaries and really have a team that they can rely on for 8, 9, 10 deep. If you can get back additional pieces that can help you, formulate a rotation that can be relied on late in games, and you're not overextending Book, Beal, whoever's on the roster, right? Like, I think that's what they needed, and that's what they've missed last year, just not having enough reliable guys to be able to formulate different lineups.
Yeah, I would say probably if I'm the Suns, I'm looking to get back at least one starting caliber player, preferably a wing or a big. I'm looking at getting a role player, like a good solid bench piece that would be in a 7 or 8 man playoff rotation, and hopefully like a younger player that you could possibly develop. Maybe not necessarily a project, but someone that is maybe closer to the timeline of Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro, and probably a draft pick or two, depending on the quality of those players that we're talking about. It really depends from team to team, but I think you're trying to get 2 solid players, 1 project younger player that gives you hope for the future, and a draft pick or 2 that kind of falls in that same boat. That's kind of the way that I'm looking at it. Obviously, that's maybe a little bit optimistic depending on the offers that are coming in, but if you're trading Kevin Durant, you have to try and get back some of what you gave up, and that's kind of what you gave up in the first place.
Yeah, for me, it's been all starting caliber centers. I think there's more options that are coming to the forefront as we get closer to the draft and naturally free agency. They need to find a way to get one of those pieces, because I don't think that offensive or defensive system can reach or even get close to its ceiling without having that box checked off. And naturally, with the cap constraints and whatnot, they probably can't do that in free agency, nor are there starting caliber centers that are in free agency that you would likely want to bring in. So having that done via trade makes the most sense. Try to get another wing in addition to that. And if you can get a pick involved in some capacity in this upcoming draft, then that's even better for you.
You need value. That's the need, right?
Yeah.
You can't trade him for scraps on the dollar, which, we've seen some varying reports out there. Just want to remind everybody who's joining us, a lot of people in here for a Mailbag Monday. 1, hit that like button. Thank you so much. Do it for Gerald being back, and do it for Shane wearing a beautiful PHNX He's on Fire Devin Booker t-shirt. And of course, stick around at 3:30, Marc Stein, DLLS's Marc Stein, and of course, someone who writes for the Steinline Substack, doing a ton of reporting on the Kevin Durant scene. It's been a very reliable source for Suns information, especially as of late. We'll be joining the show at 3:30, so make sure you tune in for that. It's a Mailbag Monday, and because we have so many submissions, we won't be taking all of your questions from chat, but if you do want to drop super chats like Sith Lord did, we'll be happy to read them live on air. Sith Lord with a $9.99 super chat, thank you so much, says, would you trade first-round picks and players for Giannis if he said he didn't want to come to Phoenix? Obviously, paralleling what is reported, some teams might be aggressive in trying to acquire KD, like the Minnesota Timberwolves, but Kevin Durant doesn't want to go there. Steven, is that something that you would be willing to roll the dice on?
I think the context is a little different because Giannis has more years left on this deal past this upcoming season. So, yes, 1,000%.
Right.
What if he was a 1 year rental? Let's say really great player, 1 year rental. Kind of the same situation that KD is in.
If he's not coming to replace Kevin Durant, he's coming in tandem with KD, 1,000% yes. But you can get to him with Bradley Beal if you can appease Milwaukee to dance.
Fine, Milwaukee. You can finally have Bradley Beal.
Yeah, here. Okay, what is it? Giannis? That's fine, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I would as well if you're pairing him with Booker and KD, but there's just no realistic way for them to do that. So the comparison's a little hard for me to draw those same lines.
It's always tricky for me. If it's like you said, the situation is 1 year rental, I lean no because, that's just such a big gamble and you have such a little amount of time, a finite amount of time to sell him on Phoenix when he's here to get him to sign long term. So, and that's not Giannis, it's just anyone, right, in that scenario. But if it's a 2 year, then you have more time. You have a couple off seasons, couple training camps in theory. So for me, it's always 1 year rental. I'm not risking it.
If the Suns had a better infrastructure to be like, we traded for Giannis, we're championship contenders now, then absolutely. Because like we saw the Raptors did that. And even though they lost Kawhi after that 1 year, they still got their one title out of it. Like, I don't think the Suns, even if they found a way to pair KD, Book, and Giannis, as crazy as this sounds, I don't know that they have the depth around those three to actually compete for a title in that 1 year span. So.
Yeah, I mean, do you leverage it all for 1 year of a player that might put you over the hump? That's what the Suns are hoping teams do. Not exactly the same situation, but we did see a pretty good player get traded over the weekend. We're going to talk about how Desmond Bane's deal impacts the Phoenix Suns. Marc Stein joins the show, and we've got so many more Mailbag Monday questions we're going to get to with Shane, with Gerald back, Marc Stein, and then, hey, Steven and I, we're here as we have been, but nothing special about that. But we're all going to be here right after our first break. Gerald, while you were gone, we started a new segment called Frosty Takes with Wendys. Now, we have to go back and expose our old bad takes, and I did have to pull one of yours recently, but we get to eat Frosties on air, and Wendys has brand new Frosty flavors. Oh, that's right. They have Frosty Swirls and the Frosty Fusions. Now, I know you're thinking what I'm thinking. Frosties are so damn good, they don't need to be changed. And you're right, they don't, but they got improved. We're talking strawberry swirls, caramel crunch, brownie batter. There's a strawberry Pop-Tart Frosty at Wendys. And let me tell you, I am a strawberry swirl girl myself. I am devouring those every single Thursday and beyond. But whatever flavor you're craving, odds are they've got a Frosty for it. So clock in for sweet treat time anytime, including midnight or later with Wendys' all-new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic, it's got to be Wendys. At participating U.S. Wendys, hours may vary by location. Also, as the NBA season winds down to the finals, you can still put down some fun money over at Bet365 on the NBA Finals, including a new promo exclusively for the finals that offers customers the chance to win a jackpot of up to $100,000 in bonus bets with the first play fortune. To enter for a chance to win a share of $100,000 jackpot and bonus bets, you must place a 3-leg same-game parlay where the 3 legs are player to score first basket, player to get the first assist, and player to get the first rebound. And only bets consisting of these exact 3 legs will be eligible. Log in, place your bet, or sign up. Use code PHNX365, deposit 10, and place your 3-leg same-game parlay bet for $1 minimum, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, in-app only. Terms and conditions apply. Opt-in is required, but of course, if even beyond the finals, you want to put some money down on baseball, on hockey, they have it all over at Bet365. And we've got it all on a Mailbag Monday edition of PHNX Suns. Forbes Shane Young in studio. Marc Stein set to join the program in just about 5 minutes. So let's sneak in this question about Desmond Bane. Let's go ahead and get to it's Sun Ka Wee. I like that. It says, how realistic is it for the Suns to get more for KD than the Grizzlies did for Desmond Bane? If they don't, is it a failed trade by Gregory due to his inexperience? Gerald, Tim Bontemps had some wording that was changed around last night and eventually ended on the deal for Kevin Durant will not surpass draft capital-wise what the deal for Desmond Bane was. Is that something that makes sense to you?
It does, and it's not because Desmond Bane is a better player than Kevin Durant. It's a matter of need for the Magic and fit for the Magic. Desmond Bane, perfect fit for Orlando. And also, you look at the value of some of those picks. Like one or two of them are kind of like pick swaps. So they're called unprotected picks, but they're really not that valuable. So that beefs up the 4 first-round picks or whatever. So no, I think we should readjust our thinking. Just because the Magic were willing to throw in that many picks for Desmond Bane does not mean that should be the baseline of what the Suns should be expecting. It's going to come down to how much do these teams need Kevin Durant? And the answer for a lot of them is we don't need him, we want him. So it's probably going to be less than what Bane got in terms of quantity. Hopefully the quality of players that they're getting or picks is a little bit higher.
It's also the leverage situation. There was no news out there about Desmond Bane wanting out of Memphis.
Right.
But now, I don't know if you'd push back on this, but like it's kind of out there that like KD wants to be traded once out of Phoenix. So, of course, teams aren't going to be like, oh, I'll give you this, that, and the other for a guy that is just as good as gone.
And we should clarify, it's the Suns that want Kevin Durant out of Phoenix, because Kevin Durant does still want to be in Phoenix.
Yes.
But that ship has kind of sailed, unfortunately.
I don't think it's realistic to get more back from any team that you're dancing with than Orlando or than Memphis did from Orlando. And I think most of that also comes from it likely taking multiple teams to get that trade done, which naturally takes away from how much you're probably going to get back. It's going to have to be evenly dispersed in some capacity, whether it's from 2 other teams or 3 other teams. So it's just a little more complicated with KD and his salary and the upcoming extension that's going to be needed for most teams to even dance with you. So it's a lot more complicated than it is with Desmond Bane.
Yeah, I took a little victory lap when Bontemps, originally the wording was that the Suns draft package will surpass Bane, which was surprising to me because I've been standing on business that I don't think Kevin Durant gets traded for scraps. And I'm not changing that. I never thought Kevin Durant was going to go for 5 first-round picks and 5 second-round picks. And I've said that it's somewhere in the middle where people who think you're going to get no value for Kevin Durant, I just don't see that, right? But you're going to get something. And in all of these mock trades that we've done, I don't think we've ever had great players plus at the same time 5 first-round picks plus 5 second-round picks. You know, that's a different situation. Bane under contract as well. Orlando also desperate to make a move. Didn't trade any great players in return. In fact, dumped what a lot of people consider to be a bad contract, which is another reason why there might have been an extra pick thrown in there. But I do think that it was interesting that it almost mirrored how Rudy Gobert was traded right before Kevin Durant. And he did inflate the market for KD, and I feel like solidified, like, yeah, you're going to give up the whole farm for this guy.
Yeah, and I think you look around the league, like Rudy Gobert trade, DeJounte Murray trade, this Desmond Bane trade, Donovan Mitchell, like a lot of picks are going. I don't think the Suns are going to get 3, 4, 5 picks, but 2 is not unreasonable to me, and maybe 3, depending on what the players are that's coming in return. But again, I don't think the Suns' priority is picks, so I think it'll probably be closer to 1 or 2, depending on the players.
And I think that the Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell trade were like transformative trade, so where like it changed how those 2 franchises played.
Yes,
like now
and their outlook.
Yes, and Kevin Durant at this stage of his career, he's a piece that's going to take you from a good team over the top. I don't think it's like a transformational trade.
Yeah,
so I think it's the difference there
because he can play in a lot of different playing styles as well too.
And I do find it interesting that now the West has one more team that is tanking, and the East is, maybe bolstering. And who knows actually what Memphis is doing. There are reports that they want to hold on to Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. I know a lot of people were asking if the Suns could get Triple J. We are expected to be joined by Marc Stein at any moment, but let's continue this Mailbag Monday. And if we cut off your question because Marc Stein joins, I'm sorry, we'll get back to it. Once Marc Stein is gone, let's go to Trevor. Trevor says, welcome back, Gerald, and hope the family is well.
Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate that.
He then follows up and says, is there any chance we see multiple players traded from Phoenix with Durant if this becomes a 4+ team trade? I've seen the chatter regarding Grayson and Royce on the trade block. I could also see Martin's contract being valuable. Shane, do you think there's a chance that this ends up being a multiplayer trade if the Suns somehow find a way to get under the second apron with it?
Yeah, I could see that. And that would be, I don't know. Like, it's just multi-team and multiplayer trades are hard to kind of project and predict. But, and honestly, I feel like we've seen more of that over the last like 3 years, right? Like these 4-team, 3-team deals where 15 guys get traded all over the place.
Yeah, you kind of have to be creative now with some of these restrictions in the CBA. Thank you, CJ, for that. But I do think it's possible. I think it's a little bit tougher because if you are sending out multiple players, like we've talked about, as a second apron team, you have to be shedding enough salary to duck beneath that second tax apron and therefore be able to aggregate outgoing salaries. So that's the tough part, is are you getting enough value back in return if you're throwing Grayson or Royce into a trade while still shedding enough salary at the same time? It's probably hard to thread that needle. So not out of the question, but you have to shed a significant amount of salary to do it.
Yeah, that's why, at least in the early stages, I was hoping they were able to get the Beal contract shipped elsewhere to then alleviate some of the tax apron constraints that they're working up against now. I think that would make trading the Kevin Durant contract and just the value that he brings a little more easy. But the fact that that's not going to be what happens, they got to pivot a little differently. I think it takes 3 to 4 teams to get the deal done.
Yeah, we are waiting here any moment. Marc Stein from DLLS and the Stein Line Substack will be joining PHNX Suns. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure that subscribe button. While we're waiting for Marc to get set up, I want to remind everybody that ALLCITY is doing a massive fundraiser for our Spirit Week for Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America. Lexville, who is a diehard, donated some money earlier today, and we had an anonymous donation. All of that got us up to over $1,000 just on our first day here. The goal is $10,000 by the end of the week, all across ALLCITY. It is not a super chat donation, everybody. I want to remind you, you can still send super chats. We'll still read your questions live on air, but there's a donation button right under the chat. Make sure you hit that donation button. Make sure you help out Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America. And if you want to get more involved, maybe become a big or be actually involved in the organization itself, like so many of us here at ALLCITY have done, make sure you do that at bbbs.org/ALLCITY. So as we wait for Marc Stein to get set up, let's keep on unpacking the multiple players thing. Gerald, I would assume that to you, Ryan Dunn and possibly an Oso Ighodaro would end up being untouchables in that conversation of aggregating with Kevin Durant.
I don't know if I'd go as far as untouchable, but it would have to be somebody really, really good that's coming in return. I'm talking like a star caliber player that is going to fit alongside Booker, help him win in the here and now, but also is still young enough to continue playing with Booker for the foreseeable future. And I just don't know that type of trade is out there. Because if you're a team that's trading for Kevin Durant, you're trying to keep players of that caliber. So I think Ryan Dunn and Oso are not necessarily untouchable. I think Ryan's maybe a little bit closer to that. But it really does depend on getting a high quality return.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about Kevin Durant and everything going on with him and the NBA scene in general. We bring in, of course, one of the most plugged in people when it comes to it. It is DLLS's Marc Stein riding alongside Jake Fisher, keeping NBA fans informed and as smart as they could possibly be. Marc, busy time. How is the Kevin Durant trade market going for you personally?
This is what the people want, so let's do it. I mean, how many times, I'm sure we all wish we had a dime for every time we heard somebody say this offseason is going to be crazy. And look, we got an absolute blockbuster on June 15th, 10 days before the draft. And between now and the draft, yes, we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals. Yes, we're going to be talking about Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper and how the order shakes out after them. But other than that, until Kevin Durant is traded, Kevin Durant is as large a storyline as there is in the NBA, his future and what happens.
Well, Marc, I kind of want to get your read on this because, as we know, during this time of year, teams will leak things, and it's often for a reason. But how are you kind of seeing this market shake out in terms of, we've seen the 3 teams, the Rockets, the Spurs, the Heat, the teams that were his preferred destinations. We've heard the report that the Suns are not pleased or not excited about the offers they're getting. I've heard rumblings that the Timberwolves have been one of the most aggressive. How are you kind of seeing this market shake out, and what are you hearing on your end?
You guys mentioned Jake Fisher writes twice a week on my page, and honestly, this time of year, he writes more than twice a week. So he and I are covering this together, and I think we've been pretty consistent in our reporting. You have the group of teams, like you said, the 3 teams that we know Kevin Durant would be open to landing with, or that he hopes to land with, either San Antonio or Houston in Texas, or the Miami Heat. I reported yesterday the Knicks also would have been on that list, but the Knicks made it pretty clear in this process that they would not be making a run at Kevin Durant. So I think you have the group of teams that we know Kevin Durant is open to signing an extension with beyond just being traded there. Then you have the group of teams, Minnesota probably at the top of that list, where they're willing to they're willing, interested, / maybe even eager to trade for Kevin Durant without any assurance that they can have him on their team from beyond next season. Kevin Durant only has 1 year left on his contract. And what's so different now compared to February is in February, when people talked about Kevin Durant trade prospects, it was very much likened to what we heard with Jimmy Butler and Miami. That wherever Jimmy Butler ended up, there was most likely going to be an extension attached to the trade. And that's exactly what we saw in Golden State. Jimmy Butler got a 2-year extension on top of the trade. But you have these rumblings now that your Minnesotas, maybe the Clippers, maybe Toronto, maybe some team that we're not even aware of, mystery suitor X, you can call it, that is willing to trade for Kevin Durant without an assurance that they would have him for more than one season. And that's really the rub here, because the signals from the Suns, I think it's pretty clear they're going to make the trade they like the best. There's been lots of reporting about they are working with Kevin Durant and his longtime business manager, Rich Kleiman. But the way I worded it, I think this was in my Sunday story. The Suns have not promised that they're going to trade Kevin Durant to one of the 3 teams on his list of preferred destinations. If one of those 3 teams makes an offer that Phoenix likes, then the Suns would do that. But I think it's pretty clear here that the Suns at this point are going to make the best trade they can conceivably make, because I'm pretty sure you guys do not want me to run through the litany of players and draft picks they surrendered to get him in February 2023, because we do not want anybody in chat bursting into tears.
Mark, in recent reports over the last couple of weeks, we heard that the Suns are valuing a starting caliber center to bring into their team with Jordan not going forward, obviously. And even as recent as yesterday, we heard about them being interested in some capacity in Kristaps Porzingis as well as Miles Turner. Can you just kind of give us a little bit more detail and kind of what you know from your perspective on what the interest level is with those two?
Yeah, that actually came from Jake Fisher, a tremendous story that he posted this morning, that the Suns are doing some background work on Kristaps Porzingis, because, look, it's an open secret in the NBA that the Celtics are weighing changes to their roster. They've got to reduce salary. They've got to reduce their luxury tax bill. And realistically, the easiest way for the Celtics to do that is by moving Porzingis, whose contract is down to 1 year, a little bit under $31 million. It's an expiring deal. Jrue Holiday, there are teams out there that would naturally love to acquire Jrue Holiday, who has been part of championship teams in both Milwaukee and Boston. But Jrue Holiday has 3 years left on his deal, valued at more than $100 million. So he's harder to trade. That's just the reality of it. So if Kristaps Porzingis is available, and you spelled out the Suns' need for a floor spacing big man very well, obviously they're going to investigate it, see if there is anything there. I think realistically, if anything ever came to fruition with Porzingis landing in Phoenix, it would probably have to be a multi-team deal. I don't think Jake's reporting was meant to suggest that there is anything close there, but just something that the Suns are monitoring and a player that the Suns are interested in. Because, look, Miles Turner, Jake and I have been writing, Detroit, Atlanta, throw Phoenix in there. There is no shortage of teams that would love to go after Miles Turner. But the working assumption around the league is that Turner and the Pacers are going to do a new deal. They're in the finals for just the second time in 25 years. Turner's a Pacers lifer. I don't really think anyone around the league expects him to become available. He is almost certainly going to re-sign with the Pacers.
Hey, Mark, Shane Young here. Nice to talk with you. I'm just wondering, with the Houston piece of this, do you feel as if there's some internal, I don't know, maybe conflict or disagreement in terms of, obviously Ime Udoka, the coach, has a relationship with Kevin Durant. They're close still to this day. but management, not wanting to send out too much in a deal with KD, but coaching that the coaching staff might want to get him in the door to advance in the West.
Look, I mean, I think you're right in terms of Ime Udoka's fondness for Kevin Durant is another one of those open secrets in the league. Royal Ivey is also on Houston's staff, a coach who's very close to Kevin Durant. I reported yesterday, I believe, the Spurs and a number of teams have been trying to hire Royal Ivey away from the Rockets, and all indications are that Royal Ivey wants to stay with the Rockets. So, and Royal Ivey, of course, was involved in the Suns head coaching search as well. So, look, the Udoka Durant connection has been in circulation for months. But I feel like we've been reporting this also all season, and the messaging out of Houston has been consistent. And I have to say, through the trade deadline especially, it proved absolutely accurate that the Suns did not want to do anything to their team during the season. They wanted to give this young group a chance to get to the playoffs and see what it could do, just like Oklahoma City approached last season. Now, the Rockets went out in round 1. They lost a game 7 at home. They were the higher seed. They had undeniable offensive issues in that series against Golden State. And I do think now there are certain scenarios in which the Rockets would do a Durant trade. But I've consistently gotten the impression that the Rockets feel like they are going to be very selective in terms of what they would be willing to give up. Not because they don't love Kevin Durant. Of course they like Kevin Durant. Who does? Like, Kevin Durant is a Hall of Fame player and still one of the, 3 to 5 best bucket getters on earth. I don't care if he turns 37 in September. That's not really the issue. But they have a team of 20-somethings, and they're young 20-somethings. And so I think they feel like they've got Phoenix's first in 2027, 2029. They already controlled the Suns' first-round pick in this draft. It really has appeared to me to this point, underline to this point, because stuff changes. It's a very fluid league, and things can change. But to this point, I do think it's fair to say that interest in a Durant to Houston deal to this point has been more on the Suns side than on the Rockets side. And it's obvious why, because the Rockets have those picks and the Suns would love to get at least one of them back. Are the Rockets going to cave and give the Suns what they want? Or are the Rockets in some form or fashion going to put the best Durant offer on the table? We're still going to have to wait and see. I can't give you that answer.
Mark, we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us. Maybe we could talk some draft stuff another time before the draft happens, but you mentioned that there are a lot of teams who are interested in KD, different types of teams with different packages to offer. Universally speaking, where would you say Kevin Durant's trade value is right now? Because you mentioned all the good that comes with him, the bucket getter, but then there's the age and the contract. We just saw Desmond Bane go for a large amount of draft capital. Let's maybe use that as a baseline. Where do you see Kevin Durant's trade package lining up with that?
Yeah, I have not. I'll just put it to you like this. I haven't spoken to anyone from another team or just, other teams who are not even trying to get Durant, but just observing this situation. I have not heard anyone projecting that a Durant trade can bring 4 firsts back to the Suns. Again, because of all the reasons you said. He's going to be 37 in September, and he only has 1 year left on his contract. So even those teams willing to gamble, like we've talked a lot about Toronto and the Clippers, how far are they willing to go in a trade when Durant would only be arriving with 1 year left on his deal? And I think that's the push and pull. I mean, that's why we haven't seen a trade yet. The Suns obviously have lofty ambitions here and naturally want to get back as much as they can in this trade. But it's just easier said than done because a lot of these conditions. I mean, why was Orlando willing to go so far for Desmond Bane, a player who does not have an all-star appearance on his resume? He is a proven distance shooter and volume shooter. He's an underrated playmaker, but it's also the age. He's not yet 27, and the contract control. Bane is under contract for 3 or 4 more years. So those things factored in to the Orlando trade calculus, as well as the fact that the Magic had to offload KCP's contract, and they had to give Memphis some sweetener there because that contract is not regarded as a contract with positive value. So it's hard to make outright comparisons. It's not necessarily a statement about the players involved because, again, Kevin Durant, wherever he goes, is not just going to bring a world-class bucket getter to his next team, but I mean, the interest level. I mean, he's going, Kevin Durant is going to be good for business. If, just hypothetically speaking, if the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Toronto Raptors roll the dice and win the trade sweepstakes, I mean, imagine Kevin Durant going to the jolt that he gives a franchise like that if he ends up with a Minnesota or a Toronto. But obviously, he's hoping to land with one of those 3 teams that are on his list.
Mark, thank you so much. Obviously, the Steinline Substack is a great place to keep up with not just what's going on with Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns, but everything going on in the NBA as well. You and Jake Fisher do incredible work there, even covering some draft stuff as well. Jake Fisher reporting that Ryan Kalkbrenner and Maxime Reynaud have worked out with the Suns, so might have to have one of you guys on before the draft again to dive deeper into that. But once again, we appreciate you sharing your insight on KD. Make sure that if you guys are not already subscribed to Marc Stein Substack, that you do that. And you can tap in with his coverage over at DLLS with ALLCITY. Mark, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys. We will do it again soon.
Perfect. Sounds good. I'd tell everybody to follow Marc Stein, but you guys all probably already do at the Steinline, in case you didn't notice. But we will give our reactions to that, plus answer some more of your Mailbag Monday questions. Thank you to the almost 600 of you in here on a Mailbag Monday. Hit that like button. Donate to Big Brothers Big Sisters of America while we can this week. And we'll be back with Shane Young and more right after our final break. Gerald, I don't know if you've been spending a lot of money recently.
A little bit.
A little bit?
A little bit.
How nice would it be if every time you use your credit card, you got double points back?
That's a necessary thing at this stage.
Something you could use on travel rebates, gift cards, or even event tickets. Probably gift cards for the diapers at this point, I would assume. Well, through Mountain America Credit Union, who's committed to helping their more than 1 million members, you can get 2 times the points on rewards credit card purchases now through July 31st. So it's not forever, but you got a long runway to stack up those points. It's perfect for when you're buying gas, groceries, travel, home projects, and diapers. Especially diapers. It's a great way to stretch your dollar since you earn twice as many rewards. Redeem your double points for, like I said before, travel, gift cards, event tickets. It's a limited time only, so make sure you take advantage while you can. You can get all the details at macu.com/double. Loans are on approved credit. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. Also, I was telling this story last week, and I walked into a business with my lovely wife, Megan, and we were walking around, we looked around, and the floors were so dirty. Like, they were actually disgustingly bad. We're talking like half-eaten candy on the ground, like in the tile that we left. We left the business. Don't be like that. If you need new flooring, get ahead of it with Empire today and save some money. $350 off to be exact, just for listening to these 4 goofballs talk about basketball. If you need a new floor, why go to the big box store who's going to leave you hanging, wondering where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to get? Oh, you want some help with install? Closest we can get you in is about 6 to 8 months. No, not with Empire today. Free in-home estimate same day. Next day, installation with clear, upfront, all-inclusive pricing and professionals as well that are absolutely obsessed with flooring like we're all obsessed with basketball. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better off at home. And PHNX listeners can receive a $350 off discount when using promo code PHNX. That's right, $350 off discount when using promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit empireday.com/PHNX for full details. Shout out BS Murray, Omar, Sean, My Holy, Andy, Plume of Prometheus, who says no purple shirt at Erik Ruby ? Listen, it's Spirit Week. We're wearing our favorite shirts. This is the Anti-Hero Basketball Club shirt that we have at gophnx.com. The back is a little bit more colorful. This is Kevin Durant's greatest lasting contribution to the people of Phoenix.
Oh,
So basically what he says, he's not a team player.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that we were doing the whole purple thing.
We tried to run Spain pick and roll. He went ISO.
Yeah, no, I was just off running my own thing, just clapping for the ball. I'm open.
No, you had the ball.
I'm open.
You had the ball.
Then Gerald's off to the side. I'm open.
He's getting ready for Jalen Green to come here.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
I'm leaving.
I wish my contract was Jalen Green's contract. Okay, Shane, you haven't had a chance to talk to Marc Stein, and so I want to get your thoughts on some of the stuff that he had to say about Kevin Durant's value and the teams that were interested. What was your biggest takeaway from that conversation with DLLS's Marc Stein?
Yeah, he seemed pretty confident in the fact that, when he said that he doesn't see a package out there that's going to yield more than 4 firsts or anything of that realm. So, or 4 picks or anything in that realm. So, I think that if that's the consistent messaging around the league, then that's what fans really need to temper their expectations, which I know it's hard to do. You see all the different trades of the last 3 years, 3 off seasons. Like Kevin Durant is still a 30-point per game guy. Of course he yields that in any trade, but I do think if that's what you're hearing from multiple people, multiple expert reporters around the league, then, I don't see him fetching more than what Desmond Bane just got.
Yeah, expectations need to be tempered a little bit, it sounds crazy to say about a Kevin Durant trade, but given the age, given the leverage that he holds over whatever new team he joins with that 2-year extension looming overhead or the possibility of leaving the following season, it's not going to be some blockbuster deal. Hopefully it's enough to get the Suns the things that we've been talking about: starting caliber player, younger player, draft pick or 2, and then you move from there. We know that you have to take a step backward to move forward, unfortunately, with their cap situation the way that it is.
And it's the context that you both just provided, which is why I feel like there's a natural trade partnership with Brooklyn, with their incessant desire to move up into hopefully the top half of the lottery with another pick, and being willing to get off of the contracts of Cam Johnson as well as Nick Claxton. I think there's a natural marriage there. I'm not reporting anything, obviously, but it just feels like in terms of what they can get as a return, being able to get 2 starting caliber players and a pick that's mid round, a lot higher than your 28th pick in this draft right now, feels like there's a natural marriage there if they can make that happen. But there's a lot of working parts in that.
All right, let's whip through these mailbag questions. We got a lot. If we don't get to all of them, I promise that we will get to the rest of them throughout this week. Let's go to Topher, who is so consistent in asking questions as well, says, out of the 3 preferred destinations, Houston, San Antonio, Miami, what's the best realistic package with draft picks we could get? Also, what's the best packages we could pull from a wild card rental team, if not accommodating KD's preferences? Gerald, as far as draft picks go, Houston, San Antonio, Miami, let's just pick one. What do you think is the best realistic draft pick you can get from those 3 teams? The number one that stands out.
Number 10. And obviously people are going to look at San Antonio number 2. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think Stephon Castle is realistic if you're doing a deal with the Spurs. So I think number 10 from Houston, getting your own pick back this year, is probably the best. I think Miami's is 20 or something like that. So that would be my answer. And I actually will be making my return to writing for tomorrow, going into all of these different realistic packages that these teams could offer. But honestly, if I'm looking at the teams, I'll tell you who I don't want. I don't want Jalen Green, and I need Khalil Ware from Miami to do a deal with the Heat.
100% agree. What about these wild card teams? Obviously, the Clippers don't have high draft capital. They're out there as a wild card team. Toronto has been floated. Steven, the number 9 pick, do we feel like that might be attainable if it's a 1-year rental for KD, which is what it would seem like with Toronto?
Man, if the deal makes sense, yeah. Not accepting anything less than something like Jakob Poeltl and RJ Barrett. If it's not starting with that as the foundation of it, and then you use salary filler to make the rest of the numbers and all of the teams involved match up, then there's really not much to talk about with Toronto, because that's not even a team that's included in the 3 that Mark just got done reporting with Jake Fisher over the weekend.
Can I get quickly in Barrett's place, please?
I don't know if I do.
And he has to be included as well. I believe the ones that made the most sense for me had those 3 involved, maybe other salary filler, but just those 3 in particular.
Quickly Poeltl and 9. I like. RJ Barrett kind of falls into the Jalen Green, Julius Randle category of guys that I'm not really that interested in.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of Toronto, Shane, interested in your perspective on this next question that we have from Tweet Ash Tweet. Interesting name. Appreciate it, Ash. Says, is Brooklyn or Toronto the third team to get the KD trade done? Not sure what the Raptors can offer. Those are two teams that have been floated out there, Shane, as involved in potential Kevin Durant deals if he does go to his preferred destinations. Which do you feel like is more likely to be looped in as a third team?
I feel like what Steven was talking about with Brooklyn just seems like that seems like a likely scenario right there for me. And honestly, like, it's just whatever team is desperate to pitch in and get stuff back, or what teams are looking for. That's another thing that we don't really know. We don't know the motivation behind all these lottery teams like Brooklyn or Toronto. Like, does Toronto want to jump back into the playoff mix right away? Do they want to have another year where they're building? I mean, I'm not sure. So I will say, like, back to that question a minute ago, though, Miami, that they seem the most desperate in all of this. Like, we want to salvage what's going on. We want to get back into the mix. So, but I guess to answer that question just there, Brooklyn would be the one for me.
Yeah, I think it's Brooklyn, because Toronto's been named, I think it was Jake Fisher today, as the team that might be interested in Durant if they were going to include Pirtle, and it would be either Pirtle and Barrett and number 9 possibly, or Pirtle and Quickly and number 9. So I think Brooklyn makes sense. I think they have a lot of pieces like Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton that they might be willing to part with if they get younger, if they get more picks in return. They're clearly in a rebuild. Toronto, it feels like they could stay the course with their rebuild or whatever they're doing after getting Ingram, or they could make a move like a Kevin Durant if they're interested in him.
Yeah, I agree. We have another question/comment about the Toronto Raptors from Steve-O. Says, forget everyone else. Trade Kevin Durant to Toronto. Number 9, Barnes or Barrett, Grady Dick, Pirtle, and 2 first-round picks. Send it. I added a first name in there.
You're not getting Scotty Barnes, I'll say that. But
what about Grady Dick?
Maybe. I don't know. I would have to check the math. Sure. I mean, if the math checks out and you can get as many players as you can, sure. But for me, Quickly and Pirtle would be the main pieces coming back, and then a first round pick or 2.
I always just frame it as who fits the best with Devin. If Devin's gonna be here long term, like, I don't want like RJ Barrett just doesn't fit with this team and with what Jordan Ott is wanting.
No.
If you listen to Jordan Ott's press conference, that's like the anti RJ Barrett. I'm sorry, it just is.
Yeah, RJ would feel kind of like Karis LeVert last season with the Cavs. It was like, if you can find something else that is more specific to a certain set of skills that complements everything else, naturally with DeAndre Hunter, you go and do that. And that's exactly what they did. And they got a lot better from it. So I don't think RJ aligns with the Suns.
No, he does not.
Not an alignment.
Russell says, my question, and thank you so much,
Which is
Russell.
also ironic considering his Steve Nash ties, but
it's tough.
Russell, who's always so consistent. Thank you so much, Russell. Another little 3-team question there, but with an actual example. Says, my question is, what do y'all think Brooklyn and San Antonio would be part of a 3-team deal where the Suns get Claxton, Castle, Julian Champagnie, Keldon Johnson, and picks 8, 26, 27 via Brooklyn, and 2027, 2028 first via Brooklyn. San Antonio gets KD, and Brooklyn gets Vassell, and the 2027 San Antonio first round pick. My first thought is, I think I would cry real tears if that's what the Suns got for Kevin Durant.
Absolutely. It's not happening, but that would be fantastic. Like, Spurs aren't giving all that up.
If people watch Stephon Castle at the end of the season, I mean, he was just thriving in every possible sense of the word on both ends of the floor. He is not like, I wouldn't say he's like untouchable around the league, but I mean, that's a long-term partner for Victor Wembanyama. So I don't see him going anywhere.
Yeah, Russell says this is before the Bond Temps report, which was the
That's
fact
fair.
that he was not going to fetch more than Desmond Bane. We appreciate you, Russell, in our diehard Discord. You can become a diehard today. Go phnx.com. Okay, we've got more questions, and we're going to get into those questions. But first, if you are watching on TV, just a reminder to you that the party does always continue over at gophnx.com, which means it's time for overtime. Let's jump off in overtime with a bang. It says from Joe, is Trae Young a reach? Can we obtain Lonzo Ball? Gerald, while you were gone, I did put together some trades where the Suns ended up landing Trae Young. Haven't done any with Lonzo Ball. What do you think of those two guards?
Trae Young would be nice. He feels like a reach to me for sure. I don't know that we really know what direction Atlanta's going in this offseason, especially with new front office execs in place there. Lonzo Ball feels like someone that would be a little bit more obtainable to me. He doesn't move the needle a ton for me, though.
Yeah, Lonzo Ball would be, the health is one thing. And I think the last thing that this team needs is someone that can't play more than 30 games.
Right.
But if you were telling me that Lonzo Ball could play a 65-game season, he gets off the ball quickly, and he is able to get into the paint at will still, despite all the knee problems. So I think that fits with what Jordan Knight wants.
Yeah.
It feels like Atlanta needs some change.
Yeah.
Feels like they need to start shape-shifting around Johnson, Risa Shea, Okongwu. It feels like they need to start just kind of reaching into the youth part of their team. Don't know what that spells for Quentin Snyder, because it feels like you only bring him in if he's coaching someone like Trae Young. But feels like the bees in the hourglass are pretty much out right now with Trae in Atlanta. Don't know if that means that Phoenix should be the team that is receiving him, but I wouldn't be mad at it. I feel like somehow, some way, Trae is vastly underrated, which is insane to say when he's been no less than the top 2 point guard the last 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a change of scenery will help Trae a lot. I just don't know if it's with Phoenix.
You know the tweets where somebody's says a name, it's in parentheses complimentary or in parentheses derogatory.
Yeah.
It's Devin Booker and Trae Young. Complimentary is the offensive fit, and then it's Devin Booker and Trae Young. Derogatory is the defensive fit. I'd be intrigued. The idea of Lonzo Ball is also intriguing, but for the reasons that you all said, for both of those, there are definite concerns.
I will say though, real quick, Jordan, I don't know what percentage of his claim to the defense was for Cleveland last season, but we talked about it during the season. They used Darius Garland uniquely last season. They have coach's name is slipping my mind right now.
Atkinson?
Yeah. Kenny Atkinson comes in and he tells Darius Garland, hey, buddy, we're not sacrificing the rest of our defense. You're going to have to guard. So these showing recovers that concede rotations, they're just going to be switches, and you got to deal with it and trust that you got length around you. I imagine I comes in, and if in the scenario he has Trae Young, he does the same, but that goes back to the roster construct
But
part.
with Nick Richards instead.
That's why I said it comes back to the
Gerald.
roster construct part. 1,000%.
Yeah, to your point, Eric, they got to figure out the center spot more than anything else. That's what has to be figured out.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that we've been unpacking here. We'll continue to unpack, and I'm sure you have over at Forbes Shane as well. Let's keep it rolling. Trey Man 123 with a question that I find pretty fascinating. Steven, you and I compared Kevin Durant's value in 2023 versus now last Friday. He asks, if KD had waited till the offseason in 2023 to get traded after the new apron rules had been announced, how much less of a haul would he have been traded for?
Well, I can tell you that pretty much a lot, most executives around the league knew that this was coming. They didn't know the minutia, granular details at that point, but they knew that this was coming. So I think they still would have been all in on this. Maybe they could have gotten away with a little bit less if it was public knowledge and out in the open, but I still think the package probably would have looked very similar to what it actually wound up being.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I felt like it would have been relatively similar, if not exactly the same.
Yeah.
HB and the Suns were urgent in their desire to have Kevin Durant paired with Devin Booker. But I think the kind of going back memory lane part, do they still do the Beal trade in that situation if the synchronization of timing isn't the same? Where you have Durant for, 5 months? And then you end up deciding to go get Beal shortly thereafter. If you have to get Durant that summer, do you still also double down and do what you did with Chris and Shamet to go get Beal?
I think they might have struggled to kind of put that together if they didn't have as much time.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to the question, it would probably yield the same return or the same trade package, because the Suns, remember at that time, still thought that they were a Kevin Durant away from winning the title. We don't have the benefit of knowing 2 years later, they were not close to it. They've only won one playoff series.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's at that time, they thought getting Kevin Durant by any means necessary takes us to the finals. So I think it would have been the same.
Yeah, and that season doesn't end in the second round.
Yeah.
If they end up going against that Clippers team.
Sure.
Especially the way that Kawhi was playing in that first round series. Yeah, I think the urgency, which was already high, goes breaking the ceiling and everything above it into the stratosphere. So, yeah.
All right, guys, we have one more non-draft related question. We're going to get to that one. We are going to save your draft related questions for Wednesday's show, so make sure you tune in there. Yes, we'll be keeping you up to date with Kevin Durant along the way, but we'll be diving into the ultimate big board, our biggest wants for the Suns coming up in the 2025 NBA draft. And just a reminder, next week on Wednesday and Thursday, we will be doing live draft shows for the first and the second round for the entirety of it. So we will be live at a not normal time. We'll be live later in the day and throughout the entirety of the first round, the second round. So make sure that you keep your eyes out for that. For those of you in chat who are asking questions, we really do appreciate you. For the sake of time, we're not able to take questions from chat today. Mario says, what's tomorrow's show about if Wednesday's is draft? Tomorrow is a Trade Machine Tuesday, my friend.
Lots of trades coming your way, Mario.
And no better way to do it. But let's take a little breather from Kevin Durant trade talk, shall we? Let's get a question from Bruce, new on the Suns writing scene. Thank you so much, Bruce. Says, how confident are we that the Suns bring back Colin Gillespie? Dude was hooping for us, and the Suns fumbled by not offering a contract by the end of the year. Will other teams be trying to steal him away?
I can say I think I would be surprised if Colin Gillespie's not back. It depends on what other moves they make, but they would have to get probably two very capable point guards that would bump him to third to not be interested in bringing him back because he is a restricted free agent. Like, they could have offered him the contract, but the reason that they didn't was A, they weren't going to the playoffs, so they didn't need him to be eligible because he was on that two-way contract. And B, they felt pretty confident that as a restricted free agent, they could probably bring him back. So I personally would be surprised. I'm not reporting anything, but I would be surprised just feeling out the room if he was not back next year.
I'm curious what teams might potentially try to up the price for Colin Gillespie's to retain his talents going into the next season.
The Kings want a point guard.
And that's what I was kind of getting at.
Does it not feel like a Kings overpay?
I don't think I imagine
Did he play for the Bulls before?
I imagine the Kings go after somebody like Trey, if I'm being honest, which makes things very interesting. But to stay on topic, I just don't know who might potentially try to bring him in. So it might be easy for the Suns to just retain him and not have much resistance to be met with on that.
Yeah, and I would assume that he would maybe want to be here. You would presume there's going to be a bigger role for him going into this season than there was last season. And when he was playing, especially alongside Devin Booker, you saw some pretty electric moments. So I know we were all looking forward to the Suns hopefully signing him at the end of the season. And obviously that never happened. But they have time. It's not exactly the most pressing issue for them at the moment.
Yeah, and he did have his best stretch of his career so far in Phoenix. I mean, it's been limited to 2 seasons basically between here and Denver, but he got to play the most that he ever has. He played a significant role down the stretch of last season, and I think for the Suns brass, they viewed him as one of the few guys that fits in with what their identity is going to be moving forward in terms of scrappy players, dive on the floor players. I think he fits exactly what they kind of want that to look like.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see another team because he didn't have that much playing time, like in certain pockets of the year. It's hard for me to see a team looking at him and his numbers and be like, "Oh, that's the guy we need to up the price for." To Steven's point. So.
Tony in the chat says, "I already named my dog Colin." LOL. Tony also wants to know, speaking of names, wants to know how Goku is doing. Tony joining a little later in the stream.
Goku is doing great, Tony. Archer, Ayrton, if we could bring up that close up again. Leave a like for this face. How could you not leave a like for this guy?
Should we start farming your kid out for likes?
Yeah. I mean,
we should make a leave a like with Archer, aka Goku.
Leave a like with Archer, but no, he's doing great. He's a little fussy, a little gassy. But he's starting to sleep a little bit more.
Just like his dad.
Oh, no. Hopefully he didn't get that from me, but hopefully he learns to ask the tough questions as well. So,
well, it was great having you back, Gerald. We're looking forward to having you along for this ride. Kevin Durant did not get traded while you were gone, so you're going to be here for those big moments. Definitely the biggest moment of the year for you is going to be when Kevin Durant gets traded. Shane, before we let you go, and obviously you're so kind to take some time out of your busy schedule to come in here in studio on a Mailbag Monday. Just kind of your overarching thoughts on where the Suns stand going into Kevin Durant trade and the offseason, and maybe the number one thing that you're keeping your eyes on over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I got to say, I feel like it was doom and gloom for this team in April when the season ended. It was like, how are they going to get out of the situation? And I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on it, but like over the last few weeks, just hearing, what they could get back. And obviously Devin Booker's assurance, I guess you could say, that he is going to be here and he is going to be part of this team and this culture for years to come. I'm not as concerned. Yes, they are going to have to take a step back, maybe multiple steps back. And that's going to be tough for the fan base to understand and grasp. Mm-hmm. But I vehemently disagree. People saying that this is the worst situation in NBA history. We've seen teams in the gutter for a long time and have to dig themselves out. Brooklyn is the one that I'm thinking of. I think that this team with Jordan Knott's leadership and hopefully a decent quote, decent package. I think they'll be able to. I won't say contend, but they'll be competitive, and that's really all you can ask for, given the cards that they're dealt now.
Everybody leave a like for Archer, leave a like for the new white guy right here in the middle, Shane Young. Shane, you want to let people know where they could follow you and what you're up to when it comes to the Suns in NBA world?
Yeah, man, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Young Twitter. NBA. Yeah, Twitter, not X. No. Young NBA over there. I'm getting back into my writing starting this week, starting tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to that. Been able to have a little bit more time on my hands from June and July. So just going to be diving into some draft stuff. Summer League, I'll be there this year. So really looking forward to what this summer holds. And yeah, man, I forgot the NBA Finals are going on. So let's get out here and go watch that.
Obviously, you're national writer for Forbes for the NBA. You also used to cover the Clippers very closely. Yeah. I actually, real quick, I know we're running a little long on time here. The Clippers have been put out there as a potential team to make an offer for Kevin Durant. That has never made sense for me. Does that make any sense to you?
No, it doesn't, because and I saw people making comments like they might get rid of Zubats. Absolutely not. Absolutely.
I'd cry real tears if we got Zubats. I'm not even kidding.
He is the longest tenured Clipper right now, and it's not even close. He even predates Kawhi, and he has taken meaningful steps every year. So I don't see any package, because their lack of trade or their lack of draft assets as well. I mean, they're in the gutter as well too. So I don't see anything that makes sense from that standpoint.
But I want him.
Yes. Well, and can you let them know? Let anybody on the Clipper side of things that Gerald and Erik really want.
I'll relay the message, and they might hang up on me, but
that's fine. It's you, not me, so it's okay if they hang up.
True. And it's funny we're talking about that, because I remember vividly back when Nurk was on the roster, I was like, if Zoo was in Nurk's spot, this team would be in the finals. All they needed is a guy like that with that team a couple years ago.
I mean, Zoo's he's a top 5 center in the league at this point.
That hurts, because I remember suggesting some trades for Zubats and Ayton back in the day and just getting roasted.
Hey, don't worry, Miles Turner is manning the middle for an NBA Finals team. So
I think Zubat might be the most underrated player in the NBA right
now. And he almost made the All-Star team.
Tough.
Generational Hater says, who would win an arm wrestling competition out of the 4 dudes on screen? All I know is that if you were up here, you'd be in 5th. Okay. Thank you, Generational Hater. Me and Generational Hater, we have a very healthy back and forth going. They even popped in the ASU chat. I'm loving the Rockets fans who are coming in here and trolling as well. But we appreciate all of you, Suns fans or not, but of course love the psychos and sickos who are tapping in here on a daily basis. If you don't know what we do and you are new around here, we are live at 3 o'clock every single day, Monday through Friday. Plus, we're bringing you weekend content, trending mini pods, shorts, and of course, breaking news podcasts. Whenever Kevin Durant does get traded, you know exactly where to go, and that is right here to PHNX Sports. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. The march to 50K continues. Make sure you hit that like button on this video for Goku and for the new white guy. And of course, make sure you donate to Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. We have a fundraiser all week for Spirit Week. Tune in tomorrow. We have a mystery guest that none of us know who it is. Espo set up this mystery guest. We will surprise everybody with that at the show tomorrow. Plus, of course, we'll have more Kevin Durant news. We'll have the trade machine. We're going to have draft prospects on Wednesday, free agents on Friday. We got you covered with everything. You don't want to miss it. Subscribe on audio. 5-star reviews go such a long way in growing the show, bringing in more psychos and sickos to our psychotic sickness. You can follow the show at PHNX_Suns on Twitter and on Instagram. You can follow our resident insider, never wrong about predicting when Kevin Durant is going to get traded. That is Steven. Don't call him Steve. You can follow him at StevenPG3. That's Steven with a PH. You can follow Goku's dad, aka Gerald, at Gerald Bourguet. You can follow NBA Youngboy. Oh, sorry. No, check my notes.
Hey.
Young NBA. Sorry. Sorry. Shane Young. That's right.
I'm a better rapper. but I'm not going to.
Oh no, okay. You can't say that.
I'm out.
Come on, give me a little something.
No,
You're the
I
one who
can't.
said that.
I'm not embarrassing myself.
You can follow Shane at Young NBA, and maybe he'll have a experimental jazz album just like Sam Presti. We'll talk to you all tomorrow for Trade Machine Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in today.
We all silly like the mayor.